put a big focus on gratitude and what I am grateful for. My catchphrase for the past over 3 years now has been perspective. There it is. Perspective, I think, is the most important word. Because if you don't have perspective, I don't think that you can think holistically or look holistically at anything.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to M26 Fit, the podcast that powers your spirit, mind, and body. I'm Magnus Olson, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into stories and strategies from top athletes, health experts, and everyday warriors. We're here to inspire and challenge you to become the strongest, fittest, and healthiest version of yourself inside and out. So hit the subscribe button and let's get cracking on yet another exciting episode. All right, today's special guest, I have co-host Conrad Leisman, Logan Baker, and Ryan Scilipote.
Oh, that's it. I'm leaving. No, good try.
Scilipote. Yeah, I knew I'd stuff that up.
No, I could see you start. I was like, oh, starting strong, and then you just mucked it up at the end.
Yeah. So you guys are mental health activists, NDIS business owners, and entrepreneurs.
Correct. We try our best in that space.
Yeah, try to be, I suppose.
Right. Let's kick off, mate. I'm intrigued to hear a little bit of your backstory, particularly yours.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a strange cat. So you want me just to start from the beginning, I guess?
Yeah, mate. Brief.
Right. Yeah, so I'm a Gold Coast boy. I grew up pretty much on the Sunshine Coast. Went to school here. Well, not here, but Sunny Coast, and I went to university at the uni down on the Sunny Coast as well. As soon as I hit 18, I went and got involved in the security industry, which was a bit of a eye-opening experience for me. Through that process, I basically only got out of it a few years ago, but I did private bodyguarding work, which I can't really discuss too much about. I got NDAs and things like that. I did a little bit of private government work as well, which I can't really talk about. NDA for that as well.
Which is why do we get him on the podcast?
I can't talk about anything. But yeah, so and then I did club work and stuff like that for a number of years as well. Assisted police officers and restraints and everything like that. After that, I got into the pharmaceutical sales industry as well. So I educated doctors all through Queensland on various mental health disease states, the medications that treat those as well. And then various other disease states like diabetes.
Was that something you got into because of the security stuff, what you saw in security, like with people's mental health and medication and stuff? My
whole family's in pharmaceutical sales.
Right,
so my mum's...
That makes sense.
So your whole family's a drug dealer.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually... We got asked to tell our year 2 class what our parents did, and I stood up in front of the class and said my parents sell drugs out the boot of their car. And you can imagine the meeting that ensued after that. But yeah, so they've been in the pharmaceutical industry for a long time. My mum's a manager at a big pharma company. My brother, he does device work, and he shows surgeons how to use wound vacuums and nurses and things like that. And then my dad is a specialty rep as well. So he talks to different specialists and things regarding the disease state that he particularly promotes in as well. So that was my sort of industry for a few years. I got scouted by an Italian-based pharmaceutical company, and I was part of the launch team here in Queensland. And then after that, basically, we started having discussions about what can we sort of do that's not in the realm of fake industry. I didn't particularly enjoy pharmaceutical sales because they were trying to play the whole best patient outcome type situation, but we all know Big Pharma is a particular monster. So I wanted to get into something a little bit more authentic and genuine that kind of aligned with where I was sort of at. And at that point in time, I was going through some mental health myself, and I got a lot of validation out of helping other people, and that's kind of how I then found myself in discussions about Aegis Foundation Australia, which is one of our mental health based organisations that we're starting to kick up now, and then obviously Pantheon as well. So we help people on NDIS and disability, and that's where I'm at right now.
Fantastic. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah.
Follow that. Go on.
He's much more interesting than me. So I was born and raised on the Sunny Coast. I was a full coast boy. So like all Sunshine Coastians, every time I walk outside, I run into like 6 different people I know. Grew up, went to Lara, loved that, great primary school. I'll plug that any day. Then ended up finishing high school at Meriden. I was really, really fortunate to do the Head Start program, which Sunshine Coast University offers. That's where you like start uni whilst you're at school, get a bit of a head start and start your studies, help you get to figure out what you're doing. So started that, graduated, went straight into paramedics.
Is that what you did at uni?
Yeah, loved it, man. Like,
Yeah.
it was honestly the tutors and the people that are in that industry were just so passionate and so amazing. Whilst I was studying, though, I got into security, where I unfortunately met this guy.
What a bummer.
I know, what a letdown. But no, so I had some really, really like good experiences. Honestly, I was very, very fortunate in security. I met Logan and our other business partner, Matt, and really got on well with them. But I found that really carried across into paramedics with like de-escalation strategies, emergencies, all those types of things we dealt with every night from the time I was like 18. So when I graduated, I kind of had a bit of a look at things, and I had been doing all my placements and doing everything, and I just felt like I was being very, very reactive. And at this time, my brother was actually diagnosed with schizophrenia as well as autism, and my mum being a single parent and my brother being 6'5", you can imagine how difficult that was.
Unit,
Yeah, he's a big boy. So, and at that time, completely unmedicated, new symptoms just pushing through, and so mum was, asking me come give me a bit of a hand, and I wanted to be there for my brother. This was really terrifying. Like, I remember sitting on the couch, and he walks out, and he just sat there and just stared and was just flinching every 2 seconds, and that was a really hard conversation having to have, going that something's not right. That's not just autism. That's something else. And there was like a few police kind of escalations. So after that, and my mum, who was working in the NDIS for a big company at the time, said, well, you're like overskilled. Why don't you come do this? Your hours will be better. You can be at home more. You can be with us more. And that's what I wanted. So I fell in love with it, did independent work for years. And after a while, I was like, I think I've got a bit of a knack for this. And that's when I called Logan. I don't know what made me do that. No, but he
divine intervention.
Yeah.
The universe made you.
No, I remember I was just sitting there, and me and Logan, every time we were together on security, we'd talk, and switched on guy, a caring guy. I know he looks rough, but he.
My paradox.
Yeah. I know, but no, he was just so lovely and so caring and switched on. And I rang him and I said, hey, like I want to do this thing. I don't know how we're going to do it, but do you have any idea what direction we should take? And he was like, absolutely interested.
And was that effectively was the birth of Pantheon?
Yeah,
pretty much.
So
So it's just literally over talks at security.
Yeah. So
did you know about his you knew about his brother and everything at that point? Like you guys had spoken about the struggles with that?
Not really.
I ended up finding out more when we had the discussion regarding Pantheon, because myself and the other business partner, Matt Lewis, who is you're gonna have to have a chat with him. He's an enigma of a male. Dude. Complete strange cat, but you'd love him. But yes, we started Aegis Foundation Australia, which is a mental health based community organisation, and so we had that already on the go. And then I think Ryan at that point already knew that we had that sort of mental health basis going on, so he approached me, and then I kind of networked all these people together, and then that's when Pantheon was birthed.
Yeah, how good's that?
Yeah,
it was just pretty crazy. Like going from no business knowledge, and that's why I immediately Logan had like a good foundation with pharmaceuticals, and like you did your business marketing. And I was like,
Is that what you did at uni?
At uni, yeah.
yeah. And I was like, surely you must have learned something from that.
Geez, how good's that to tie in though? You with like, well, you're both caring guys, but you with your, your medical stuff, like with your, what did you do at uni again?
Paramedics.
Paramedics with a business marketing, but also two guys are really passionate about helping people and, caring for people. It's like a fire just ready to burn, isn't it?
It was like one of those moments where like we were like, yep, this is going to work. And me and Logan at the start, we just got smashed because you have to work everything yourself. So like as we were growing, it was like me and Logan looked at each other and we're like, well, we've got to be the hands-on people.
Yeah.
We have to do this. And every time we'd get clients on board, it was like, I was like, is this your money?
Yeah. What's your week looking like? Oh, I was worried about 50 hours. It's going to be bigger than that now.
Do you know what I love about that, But and hopefully like the people that are listening get that, is that I love that you said something before that you didn't know how it was going to work, but you just had in your brain, like you had this pipe dream and you just went to a mate and said, well, this is what I see. How do we make it happen? But he just like, it's not about getting too bogged down in how it's going to happen, or you just had that, that focus
it's
of what
it's that visualization piece.
Yeah.
And I think that's the entrepreneurism coming out in you guys. It all starts with a vision and then you're able to actually put it together.
Well, I was just sitting there as well, and like I was helping mates were seeing, how I was doing, and they're like, oh, I love that industry, and how do I do that? And I'm like, all right, well, first you got to do this and this and this, and then I'm showing people how to do it. And then I'm like, hang on a second, like, who's like looking after, like, and they're really lovely people, maybe not as skilled or qualified, but I'm like, who looks after you? Like, because they'd be ringing me going, oh, I've had this issue and I've had this problem, and like this has kind of come up, and I'm like managing other people, but like in my own time. And that's when it was kind of there. And like Matt was our boss in security.
Yeah, Matt Lewis actually owned the security company that I used to work for as well. So, and then I would always talk to him like on shift and things like that. We had a lot of interests that aligned. He loves the tech space and everything like that, loves virtual reality and things like me as well. And he can build anything. Like he was a combat engineer in the army as well. And he's just like the kind of guy who will look at a problem that might have an instruction manual, just throw it out the window and be like, I'm going to do it my way type thing. So having that person as well, to do the hard back end stuff was imperative for us, because I've never been exposed to that. Ryan's definitely never been exposed to that prior either. So having that person who's going to like tie everything in and then be that one, because Ryan would come to me and then I'd go to him. So it's like what you said the other day, your network is definitely your net worth. So
it's like a superhero team. You got a combat engineer, a business guy at uni who's also dealing drugs out of his boot with his parents, and a guy who's there.
Just to confirm, I'm definitely not doing that. I know how I look.
Pharmaceuticals.
Okay. Yeah.
So you guys are obviously very caring, and your brother in particular. So you're very vested in this. How do you react when you hear things that people say the NDIS businesses are just taking advantage of vulnerable people? How do you react to that?
And look, we see a lot in our industry as well. So we do understand why people say that. Like, we are the first people to notice these things, like, and we report them accordingly. So I think there's a lot of people that get into this industry and have no idea what they're doing. Now, we've been in the industry a few years now, and we've recruited a lot of top talent. So we have nurses that work with us. We have someone that's doing law that works for us. Like, we've got like quite a big and extensive team. We've got, a business accounting background, also working in our operations. So we've got a range of people that all specialize in this NDIS field, guiding us every step of the way. And that I think a lot of people get in, they see the dollars, and they don't understand that this is a person's life.
Yeah.
This is incredibly important. And I don't care if you have, life experience or you've grown up with it. You need to take this very seriously. Like, this is a government role, and we're an audited, registered provider, and I think that's hugely important that you have that oversight as well. So
that's a large part of the regulation as well. Yeah. So because we are NDIS registered, we undergo more scrutiny than independents and other unregistered companies.
Right.
So that's hopefully a way that they can kind of cut out a lot of the bad stuff that's happening in the industry as well is by making them all registered, which would be very beneficial.
I suppose.
And then obviously we're taxpayers as well. Like if we want to know that our tax-paying money is going to good use.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that'll stop because there's a lot of talk about fraud in the NDIS.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that some of these smaller providers, if they bring in extra regulation, then that's going to cut a lot of that
independent workers as well. So
100%.
independent.
So how does that work? So explain that to us, because you said you're registered with the end, like an organisation, so you're the one that gets audited, the spotlight gets put on you guys. Yeah. How is that different than when you're saying there's people that are independent in the NDIS that are they not going through the same?
You can still be audited.
Randomly.
Yeah. So like NDIS can just be like, I'm going to look at your books, and you just got to do it. So, but the problem we see a lot is these independent workers who are working just under a sole trader ABN.
Right.
So they're out here, having discussions with participants and maybe making, inappropriate relationships and all these types of things and doing things that aren't necessarily care-based. The NDIS is building capacity. The whole point of NDIS is to build capacity for you to then become independent enough to not use that service. Unfortunately, there are people who are helping to perpetuate the problem by making poor decisions. And then at the end of the day, it's the participants and it's also taxpayers who are fronting that. So, and obviously we're all taxpayers as well, and we want to make sure that our tax-paying money is going to appropriate things.
And to people that actually need it.
100%,
And independent as well. And don't get me wrong, I've seen some wonderful independents. Like I've seen some, genuinely there's someone that just goes, hey, look, I'm going to go get an ABN. I'm going to do everything myself. I'm going to keep extensive notes. And they go above and beyond. But I find there is a lot of people that become independents because they can charge 68, 67, 56 an hour. No quals. None. On a weekday. That's not even weekend rates. So they see that and they go, okay, I'm going to go make, some good money, but they're not keeping notes. They're not liaising with the stakeholders. They're not.
That's crazy.
Which is stuff we do every day.
And
at the end of the day, OTs, like occupational therapists and things, they get engaged to, determine what's the best course of action for your cares. A lot of independents and things like that, they don't have that, or if they don't engage like a support coordinator to engage therapies and things like that. So you have people who aren't progressing in their cares and moving towards that independence, and they're just kind of sitting there in this cycle.
So just going back a step though, like so the listeners can understand too, because not everyone understands what the NDIS is or what it does. But for you, how old were you when your brother got diagnosed with schizophrenia?
Man, I was in my second year of uni, so it would have been 18.
18. And how old was he when he got diagnosed?
So he got diagnosed very young, so he's 2 years younger than me, so 16.
16. And you were saying that your mum was already part of the NDIS, so she part of now Pantheon?
No. So
she's got her own thing?
Yeah, she's got her own thing. She's got her own company, her own thing, so she does everything to the side. So, but she already had a knowledge base, and mind you, then the NDIS was very young. Like it's still very, very young.
Because how long ago was this? When
24, 6.
Yeah, so 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, so it would have been very young.
So just so people know, like the Pantheon. So tell us a bit about that with so what was your dream for that? Like who are you, like I know we're saying you're NDIS based and stuff, but was there a specific lane that you guys wanted to go into? Was it people with disabilities? Was it people with, loss of limbs? Was it like, who do you actually help?
In a mentor role more than anything.
Mental health.
Because obviously Ryan and I were working absolutely crazy hours, working with participants on a weekly basis. And what we sort of found, because of our backgrounds, like all the owners of our business are either ex-military or security.
Right. Okay,
so my dad's involved in the business as well. He's a smaller shareholder, but he's still involved. But we sort of found ourselves, a lot of the ASD younger boys don't have a lot of father figures in their life or a father in their life at all. So we ended up sort of fulfilling the role, I guess, as a male mentor for a lot of it. And obviously we looked quite holistically at health in general, because obviously we know that the correlation between physical and mental health.
100%.
And exertion and all these, and getting the endorphins pumping going, and stuff like that. So we practice a lot of with participants. We try to get them out hiking and stuff like that. A lot of them are on a very sedating medication. ASD, they usually have antipsychotics, sort of like risperidone, olanzapine. These are very sedating medications. You can put weight on, and then obviously if you're throwing the weight on, you may think more negatively about yourself. and then that is just a spiral in
Yep.
itself.
Yep.
So we try to get participants out hiking, and we do breath work like Wim Hof breathing and things like that on our hikes, just to get the endorphins pumping and stuff like that, and then try to create that routine as well for them.
So, and that's all Pantheon? That's all that business that you just get?
Well,
We do a lot of
yeah.
stuff
So
within our
so
organisation.
funny enough, like, and this is what a good recommendation for anyone getting on the NDIS at the start. Like, we, tried everything. We've done coordination. We've done plan management. We
have
done
art therapy.
Well. We've done absolutely everything. And one thing that we found is just do one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, simplicity.
Just do one thing really well. And like now that's what we're doing. So we still do a lot of that mentor work. I think that comes very easily for us. But with a lot of our staff coming over from the hospital, coming from security backgrounds, military backgrounds, all of those types of guys, police. Now we're moving into like more of the discharges from the hospital and assistance with like home and living.
Yep.
So supported independent living, we do a lot of that now. Coming from the hospital, or medium term accommodation for like our crisis. Like that's something that we've really started to hit the ground running with, and something that we're really quite passionate about, because a lot of these participants, like, think about being told where you have to live. Like, really picture that you are someone with a disability. And your family may not be able to assist you further. Like, it's just not within their capability. They're burnt out. They're stressed. Like, and they have no idea how your disability relates to your day-to-day living. So at some point, someone's just going to go, hands up. I can't do this anymore. Where do you go then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Logan, I'm keen to hear more, mate. You made a very good comment about the connection between mental and physical fitness. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that, and how else you can, apart from the hiking, that you make that connection and help those participants?
Yeah, so like I said, everything's holistic that we look at. We do a lot of breath work, all the hiking and stuff like that. But obviously, because of the medications and everything that participants with ASD and things are on, it's something that we try to. The goal is like to mitigate as many adverse reactions from medications and stuff too. And like, obviously, it's not particularly our role, but knowing that background as well, and how it can impact your physical weight and everything like that.
That's an awesome set of knowledge that not too many people have got.
Yeah, well, it's literally coming straight from it's a transferable skill, I guess, from the old industry that I was in.
From the boot of the car to...
Yeah, from the boot of the car straight to benefiting our participants.
That's right.
Yeah, no. So it is a good set of knowledge to kind of see how different medications can actually impact you. And that is something that I've seen. Obviously, we can't provide healthcare advice or any kind of medical advice, but having that knowledge in the back of your mind, you can kind of make appropriate steps to kind of mitigate any kind of weight gain profiles and everything like that from certain medications and things too.
So what about personally? What do you do personally from a physical fitness perspective?
Yeah, so I'm only just starting to train every day again. It's been, so when I was in security, I had to get a full knee reconstruction from fights and stuff. I've been knocked unconscious. I've been king hit multiple times. I've had blood come out of my ears and things like that in the past. So I've actually, I've been told that I've got a 5% cognitive impairment now as well due to that. So yeah, if I'm mid-sentence and I just kind of tangent off, that's the reason. But yeah, so
at least you got an excuse. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll try my best. That's why I have a lot of caffeine. Get those electrons firing. But yeah, so I'm actually just back on my health journey now, and that's why I'm a little thicker at the moment. I used to train twice a day. I used to have minimal body fat and stuff like that. I was pretty fit because I used to have to do a lot of running and stuff in my role as well. So yeah, at the moment. I'm only just getting back into like doing the daily workout bikes and doing weights and stuff again. Because just over 2 years ago, I got 2 herniated discs in my lower back.
Ouch.
When I was in America, I was working out at an LA Fitness, and then something happened when I was doing squats, and then couldn't walk like the next day. So I was on my back for a while. I had to get upgraded to like business class and everything just to get me home. because I could pretty much only lay flat at that point in time, and I've been basically in chronic pain since. So I've had a bit of a mental health journey in that regard as well. Just trying to get myself back to a place where I'm physically happy with myself, and then my perception of myself is then more positive as well. And I'm only just starting, like everyone's been telling me lately, I've just been stripping off the weight and stuff again. So I'm trying my best to get back on that sort of positive physical train, so I can think more positively for myself. But I get a lot of validation out to, talking to other people and making them feel better about themselves as well. So I'm kind of put a big focus on gratitude and what I am grateful for. Ever since I've been losing the weight, my lower back's just been better and better.
I was going to ask that. You probably, do you find that helps you though when you're working with, all these guys, you're talking about hiking and stuff?
Yeah, 100%.
Where you can relate to them more because you've had your own mental health journey and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Magnus the other day about this. My catchphrase for the past over 3 years now has been perspective. There it is. Perspective, I think, is the most important word. Because if you don't have perspective, I don't think that you can think holistically or look holistically at anything.
Absolutely.
What's the name of your mental health? The foundation?
Aegis Foundation Australia.
Aegis Foundation. Yeah, cool. Is that where the birth of that kind of come from your own, both of you?
Yeah, so I've had my own mental health struggles for a number of years, ever since I was a kid.
I think everyone sitting at this table has, and I know that Connie in particular has a similar story around he's had a back injury as well, and just how debilitating it is when you actually like a degree of physical fitness and then you get told that you have to sit still.
Yeah, and it's taken 100%. And then, like, same as you, I put on heaps of weight, turned to alcohol, you turned to other vices, because I had back surgery as well. And just other things too, like, I couldn't ride motorbikes anymore and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, when that happens, it really affects your mental health. But I think once you... it's great that you guys are then passing that knowledge though onto other people.
It's lived experience.
It's perspective.
And I think it's good. Exactly.
It
love
is.
it, don't you?
Yeah. So if you can relate to someone on a different level, like I've had a variety of experiences, and I'm 28. I don't think I'm particularly like that old, but I've had a lot of experience for a 28-year-old. And so I can talk to someone, I can relate to people, obviously, because of the way I look as well. Like I think people who've come from like youth justice and child safety and stuff like that. Those kids who've had pretty rough lives, they feel more comfortable to open up to me as well. So then I get worth out of that because I can provide them that safe space to then open up and talk with me as well.
It's funny though, you said something before about, even when you're, because it's a big responsibility that you guys have got, especially when you've gone through your own stuff, but now helping others. And it was funny, I was on your page this morning on Instagram and there was a really cool post you had up there was, have you checked in with yourself today?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so when you were saying that before about you have people that, work for you and you make sure, have you actually checked in with yourself today as well?
Yeah.
It's really
debriefing's a big thing in our industry, and that's usually my role a lot in our organisation as well. Yeah. People feel fairly comfortable talking to me because I'm quite an emotional person when I want to be as well, and I can be very empathetic and compassionate too. So.
I was going to say with Aegis, so we have like an online Discord community, and you can log into that at any point, and there's
free
usually
to join and everything.
Free to join. There's usually one of us on there, and yesterday one of our workers, had a bit of a rough day. Logged in, had video chat. How's it going, mate? What's cracking?
How good is that?
And sometimes
just for the listeners, where is that? So is that your website?
That's on our Discord.
So it's a Discord, yeah. So Discord's kind of like Zoom, I guess, but it's a community, and this is the start of our Aegis community. Yep. So it's a mental health based community where we can. At the moment, I'm doing my counselling diploma and stuff as well, so I can have just more private discussions with people. If they want to just talk and debrief about things, they can jump in, and then we can have a chat about it and work through it.
And how do people get involved in that? How do they connect to that service?
You can just jump in anytime.
Yeah, well, basically, it'd just be a link that I can send out. I can send that to you guys.
What's your Instagram page so for the listeners can jump on?
We'll put it in the show notes for the guys.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah. So everyone can join. And then so it's basically the basis of it was I'm the guy who basically talks to men and gets them out of their shells. I can kind of get under their skin eventually because of all of my friends are either pretty much ex-military or security, so they're the kind of people who don't like talking about feelings normally. But I'm pretty good at getting it out of them.
Chips away, man.
I'll get you eventually.
You're like Donkey from Shrek. Yeah. He's like an onion. Right? Just peel back the layers.
Onion's got layers.
No, but he's just always there. Like you log on and he's there playing games. Hey, how's it going, man? How's your day been? How are you doing? And then you're like, oh man. And before you know it, 2 months in, you're like, I've had a really rough day. And he's like, gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was the basis of the start of the community anyway, was basically just to have people who, like our other business owner, Matt, he's not an emotional person. But he debriefs by playing video games and stuff like that. So having a community of those like-minded people who don't normally talk about emotions, just to have that brotherhood involved and have people who are just there if you need them. People feel very, like supported and things like that.
It's the power of reflection.
Yeah.
Well, but it's also important to note too, like you were saying, a lot of your the people you're involved with and the men, like ex-military, but it's not just ex-military and people that might have a disability. This affects everyone, though.
Everyone,
it's important to
100%.
note that it's not just, because you can't just think, because I'm not a returning serviceman, I shouldn't have mental health problems.
No,
it's like
100%.
it's anyone it can affect at any
And then
point.
we've got women, we've got younger people in our community and everything like that
my
as well.
brother's
I
jumped
do
in.
daily gratitudes in there as well. I'm a big fan of, I think I've talked to you, Magnus, about Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich and stuff, the power of positive manifestation and everything like that.
Yep.
So I've done workshops where I have a textbook at home and you write your goal, very specific goal. You write, 10 affirmations, things that, you like about yourself, and then you do your gratitudes. And that's kind of what I try to reflect on my social now as well. Like most of my stories and things like that are about, self-reflection, perspective.
Is this a daily thing for you?
gratitudes.
Is this daily that you'd look at what you're grateful for?
Yeah, every day.
Every day. Yeah.
Every single day.
He's posting or he's checking, and then sometimes he'll...
And then
he'll-
like to write it as well. Like
Yeah.
I literally write a page a day.
Yeah.
And I'm in the process of doing a ebook as well at the moment, called Imagination to Illusion. And it's basically just my recalling my childhood and basically trying to get back that sense of imagination and things that we tend to lose as adults. The harsh realities of the world kind of kill that little bit of imagination that you used to have as kids.
Yep.
And each chapter is me recalling different scenarios and things. Like I used to play war and stuff with my brother, and like it was so vivid. You could see like, your enemies if you're fighting orcs and stuff like that, and then that you kind of lose that from the seriousness of life.
Yep.
So my hope in writing that is to help adults regain, I guess, that little childhood spark that they kind of miss, because who doesn't want to be a kid sometimes,
Absolutely. I actually carry around this little small shovel that I found on the beach, that little kid shovel, just as again, it's in the door of my truck, just as a reminder every time I jump in there, just to be, I love it.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm a fan.
I'm a
of
massive kid.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Logan can attest to this. I found a cool stick and a cool rock, and it's on my mantle in my living room.
Yeah.
Well, we do Dungeons. We did Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that too. Just to like regain, like it's just fun.
Did that with participants as well. Like,
Yeah, we've done that with participants before and things.
Yeah.
The next podcast we'll all dress up as Indians and cowboys or Ninja Turtles
Yeah.
or something.
I do have a Teletubby costume. I just got
He
for
does.
Halloween.
He does.
I just got a big Tinky Winky costume. I can rock up in that.
I think that dates all the way back when you are a kid. That's that inner belief, that getting in touch back with the spiritual side, I guess, because I think as a child, that's you being exactly who you are. And then as we get older, so what are your thoughts around that?
I think society has expectations of a man in general, for myself anyway, and women obviously. And I think that those expectations end up kind of, I guess, turning you into the person that we are now as well, because obviously external influences are going to be hitting us on a daily basis.
Yep.
And every single second you're getting bombarded with messaging and things like that, and that is going to impact who you think you are and your perception of yourself as well.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think as well, like it comes down to who you are with. Like, and that's just such a vital
Inner
thing.
circle is everything.
Man,
Everything.
like,
Yeah.
and we're all huge nerds. We're all like we like fitness, we like gaming, we like business. There is just such everyone that talks to us gets like they're like, that's so strange. How can you like all of those? And we're like,
Gives you a broad perspective though, doesn't it?
yeah,
100%.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I love that.
But I think
it's so relevant to everything.
But I think with your group and what you're saying though, like just the guys you hang around with, it be business partners, mates and everything, like I think it's really important today, and you just touched on it, that I think we're telling a lot of, whether it's youth mental health or kids in their 20s, 30s, 40s, it doesn't matter. It's affecting every generation. But
100%.
you're right. Today we're telling people, you should be a certain way. You should be like this or you should be like that. But what we should be, I think, preaching to people that you should be unapologetically you.
Absolutely.
Yourself.
And I think I look at you guys and what you preach, but just in your group of circles, I can tell that all of you are like unapologetically yourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're different kind of cats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I look a particular way, but I genuinely like art and things like that. I used to write poetry and stuff like that. Like I'm
used to.
I'm a strange.
And he dresses in Teletubby.
I'm a strange person through and through. But I mean, I like weird. I think if you just conform and be the social norm,
Absolutely.
then what kind of life are you living for yourself as well?
I don't think I'm still young. I still get caught up, and this is the guy that pulls me up as well. Every time I get caught up in I need to be in the grind set. I need to be this type of person. There's this expectation, and you just get caught up in social media, all those types of things, or new people that come into your life, and you're trying to conform, and it's having a strong group of mates to just pull your head in when you're being a little bit ridiculous, when your ego's getting too high, or when you're just not aligning with your true self. Mates that really understand you and go, hey man, I don't think that's you.
Yeah.
But one thing to add to that, because I think we've all been in positions where the group that you are hanging around aren't serving you and they're not doing you any good. But it's extremely difficult in that environment to be able to change. Now, one thing I know with you, Ryan, I remember you made a trek back. You spent some time in Brisbane because there was a certain influence here in Brisbane that you knew, and you had to get away from some of those things. And then now you're back on the coast.
Yeah, 100%. I think for me, and me and Logan lived together as well. There was this huge environment that I was just getting caught up in, and a group of people that it wasn't conducive to me.
No.
And I spoke to Logan and I spoke to a bunch of my mates. And I need to reset.
Yep.
And I need to experience something different, and I need to not be around that. Because it's easy. It's a text away. Oh, I'm gonna go grab a beer at the pub. Well, it's a Monday. Oh, I'm gonna go grab a beer at the pub. Dude, it's Tuesday. I'm gonna go grab a beer. And then before you know it, yeah, just
at what point though, just to help other people out that might be going through that, you obviously woke up one day and thought, well, that's not serving you anymore. But was that from an outside influence, like a mate
100%.
telling
This
you?
guy told me every single day. It did not shut up.
Yeah, so it's important to have that good group around where someone can say, hey mate, I just don't think that's serving you
that's
anymore.
Perspective in its hardest form, because I was the same way.
Yep.
So I had a large group of friends. I worked in the social space on the coast for a long time. Whether I was at the Sunshine Plaza doing security there, or if I was at Ocean Street doing nightclubs and stuff like that, a lot of people knew me and would pretend to be your friend and everything like that. And I got to the point where I was like, wait, none of these people are actually serving me. These are bad influences in my life. This is not who I am. So I'm just going to take myself out of that equation.
Yep.
And now I have a very small group of friends.
Yep.
And they're like ride or die friends.
Yep.
And to me, that's friendship at its purest form. So I was happy that I was able to communicate that to Ryan as well from my experience.
Yeah, you seem to have really good, great self-awareness, because some people don't. It's hard to, when you're in it, to get out of it. And it's something
100%.
Mags often talks to me about, when we're training or whatever, the word you and I use a lot is community. And they're talking a lot about, from social media and stuff today, a lot of kids and even people in their 20s now don't have that sense of community anymore. And if you are in a community, sometimes it can be, like you said, negative on you, but it's 100%. Really important, isn't it, to have that community around you that is a positive influence.
100%.
Yeah, I think as well, for me, I didn't grow up with a father influence to go, this is what it's like. So I looked to a lot of older males, and he was so old and ancient and wise. No, but I saw Logan and still do as an older brother. So when he's he'll never say anything to me that I don't need to hear, and that's the worst part, because at the start I usually don't listen to anyone because I'm really, really stubborn, Taurus and all of that. So I'm like, shut up, I know what I'm doing. But he just will go, and very respectfully, he goes, hey, I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm still going to be here. I still love you. But, just know that you're traveling down a path, and at some point, I've got to protect me as well. And so having that kind of again and again and again, and, just waking up in the same patterns, I'm like, this is insanity. I need to change something. I'm not happy. and I'm trying to make myself feel happy, but what I'm doing is not making me happy, and how do I change that?
Yeah.
So some advice for people out there that might be going through that though, because I think that's really important, that point, that if you wake up, right, because there's so many people you speak to with mental health battles that are like, I'm not happy, or I'm stressed, or I'm just not happy where I am in life. What would be, say, I don't know, like 2 or 3 key factors would you say to change that though? Like if someone came to you in your the mental health group and said, I'm not happy, I'm waking up sad, I'm a bit depressed, whatever it might be, like what were 3 things if someone could change it there would you recommend to them?
I would ask them if they're training and exerting their body, number one.
100%.
Yeah,
Because I think the correlation
That's
between
first.
that
Your
and
mental health and your
benefit
physical,
mental health is insanely good.
Yep.
I'm seeing that now for myself a lot because I was in a slump for a couple of years.
Do you think doing that in the outdoors is better as well? Like I know you took
fresh air, breath work, you know,
Vitamin
exertion
D.
and stuff like that. And you don't have, you know, if you're focusing on something else, if you're like I've been doing fight training lately as well with my brother. And that physicality factor that I have lost because I haven't done anything, you know, with the physicalness that I used to. So having that outlet as well is fantastic. But I would also say, watch your social circle. Like, what is your social circumstance at this point in time? Do you feel like, you know, you are obligated to go and socialize in these groups? If so, are they putting pressure on you? And why are you servicing that then? If you don't feel like, and this is where that's where Ryan was.
Obligation.
Well.
Like you almost feel obligated. You don't want to. But you feel obligated. So I think it's identifying when you're like, am I going because I want to be there, or am I going because I'm scared that these people are gonna, you know, think a certain way of me? And then is that really you worrying about yourself or worrying about the influence? Regardless of the influence, like I always want to hang out with Logan and my friends. I always do. And I always enjoy it, and I don't feel bad if I'm like, no, don't feel like it today. I want to stay home. I want to play video games, and that's it. I don't have to.
And that's where that group around you though becomes so important, isn't it? Because you can have your friends that go, oh mate, you know, don't be a pussy, come to the pub, you know, all that sort of stuff. Or you got mates that go, no worries, brother, we'll catch up tomorrow.
I can't even tell you the last time I went clubbing, to be honest. I have no idea when. Years and years.
Even getting him out for a beer, and when we get home, man, it's like, I'm at home. Don't talk to me.
Because it just forms bad habits. So it's 100%. Getting out of that environment. So what are some of the tips around forming some good habits?
And I think even before the habits, you have to really, really just take an action, and before you even start a habit, you just have to move.
It's
and that
choice.
Just like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to plan, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do something. And even if it's wrong, at least you'll know it's wrong.
It's like what you said at the start, just one thing. You don't need to suddenly do 30 things. It's like, just do one thing. Just one.
Like, you know, like, all right, today, I know when my mental health's going down because I stopped gymming, and I've been gymming since I was 13 years old. And when I'm not going to the gym, or I'm not going for a run or doing something must be, because I don't feel like it. I just want to stay home. I just want to be in my little cave and sanctuary.
That's exactly when you should be doing it.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly. But so come back to those people around you. I know my wife, it's the same thing. If I've gone 3 days because I've been caught up and I haven't trained, then straight away there's something wrong with you, and you need to get yourself doing something.
For me, the discipline side of it has been the biggest thing for me recently, because obviously I've been in a lot of pain. I don't take any painkillers for my lower back at all. So for me, I'm in some days I can't even walk. But it's more you know, I need to do this as well. So getting up, even though I'm in chronic pain, and actually still doing it, doing fight training, going for a bike ride, doing weights and stuff like that. I know that my mental health, that's going to serve me more for my mental health. And then I'm not going to spiral into this negativity mindset as well. So that's a big thing.
I think that's both your points about, because I think a lot of people, and I might have mentioned this on my podcast when we spoke about, you know, when it's always funny when you get to January and everyone has their New Year's resolutions and you have a mate that's like a bit overweight or something and they've been getting up at like 8 a.m. for the last 3 years, and then they suddenly go, right, I'm joining the 5 a.m. club and I'm going to do gym 8 times a week and I'm going to do...
It's not sustainable.
And suddenly they just change like 50 different things that are so outrageously different to where they were a week ago. And then they wonder why in 3 weeks' time they've just fallen in a heap and they're depressed again. And it's like, I think that's the most important point that you made. It's just something small. It could be just like 10 minutes a day going for a walk outside, but do that consistently for the next 10 days, right? And then,
slow, but just and this is another thing, and I say this to everyone, because you get burnt out.
Yeah.
You go on 5-6 days in a row, and then you're like, yes, man, I'm killing it. But then you get to the 6th day, and you're like, man, I really don't want to go. I've been going the last 6 days, and then 2-week period. Like, the thing that, and actually it was my partner that's really harped on to me about this as well. And she's like, if you don't feel like going, don't force yourself. When you're mentally it's hard, because on one hand I'm telling you, but it's okay sometimes just to go, do you know what? Today I want to reflect on me mentally and be with people and go. Whereas the days that I'm really not wanting to go, I just start to dread it. And if I keep going and I train like poo, then I'm like, man, what was the point of me going?
Yep.
Like,
and do you think sometimes it's better off to replace it? Like I find, and everyone's different. Like everyone's mental health journey is different. But I find sometimes with me, you may not feel, you might be a bit tired, you might be a bit stressed from work or something, or like you said, a bit burnt out. But you may not, if you're planning on going to the gym, rather than going to the gym if you don't feel like it, maybe just go take the dog for a walk. Yeah. Just maybe change 100%. It up with something else.
Just move doing something 100%.
I do, so 3, 4, 5. So whenever I'm trying to get back into the gym, when I've had a huge break, 3 times a week for 3 weeks, like just 3 times.
Yep.
3 weeks, whenever, just get it in for those days. And then once I've been consistent with it for that 3 weeks and I've gone 3 times, I'm like, sweet, all right, let's go 4. So then I go 4 times for 4 weeks. All right, that felt pretty good.
See, that's a great tip for the listeners.
Yeah.
You got 7 days in your week. Just commit to the next 4 weeks going 3 times a week. Doesn't matter what days, but just pick 3 times in a week. You got 7 opportunities, right?
Yeah. So
just pick 3 of them.
You wake up and it's Monday and you're like, you've had a busy day. You come home. Yeah, I'm not really feeling it today. Okay, I'll go tomorrow. No problem.
Yeah.
Then you go tomorrow and you're like, oof, I've got a few days left. I'll go today.
Yep.
And then it doesn't need to be huge. Like you go, you do an hour, and like, look, don't feel like, and I feel like a lot of people have to go in and like, I have to do 7 exercises. I have to do this. I have to do this. If I go in and I've made it to the gym and
that's your biggest step, just getting there, and then just do something.
Yeah. And I'm like, no matter how little the weights, I'm just happy because I'm like, look, that's my goal, day achieve. Yep. And then, 3 weeks, 3 times, cool, achieve that. Then I'll go 4 weeks, 4 times, and then once I've hit that consistency, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go back into the 5.
Do you reckon with discipline, that's a word that you mentioned before, Logan, is that something you're born with, or is that something that you train yourself?
No. It's I find it's definitely something that you gain. It's your daily action, in my opinion. I think that's what discipline is. So if you can even note, like for my circumstance, I'm in pain, I'll still go do it. That's discipline, in my opinion. Just doing daily action towards something, no matter how little it is. The consistent, daily action.
I think it's the uncomfortableness as well. Like a lot of people get to a point of discomfort where they stop, and we know that for sure with our business. We are uncomfortable 99% of the time, but it's about moving forward and going, okay, well, I'm uncomfortable right now. It's okay to be uncomfortable. I'm going to work through this. I'm going to work through this with my group, with my people around me. And then we'll get to a comfortable point. And then usually by then, either me or Logan come to Matt and go, we have a new idea. We want to try something new. And he goes, this sucks. Please don't do this.
We kind of tear up from like Ryan's imaginative and up in the clouds a lot of the time. I'm kind of the in-between, the little voice in your ear, but like,
no offense.
What if?
None taken. I know.
What if this happens type thing? And then Lewis is the executioner. So, we sort of just all pull together, I guess, and then bring like the ideas to the little negative voice in your head, like with the what if, let's contingency, like everything like that.
It is a tier. So it's usually I come up with something and it's outrageous. It is ridiculous. And then I come to Logan and he goes, nah, ridiculous. I'm like, okay, I'll come back again soon. And then I'll work it up to the point where he's like, all right, I see where you're going with this.
Feasible.
Yeah.
He just dumps down the ridiculous.
Yeah.
What about now?
He just starts framing it differently.
I'm like, so have you thought? And then we get to a point where, he's on board and then we go to Lewis and then he'll be like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing that. Not within this time frame. This is why. And then we work together, and we'll pull our employees in our pool of people. We'll get more knowledge, and to the point that we have like a fully viable product, and then
it's like, here's our 38-page business plan.
Yeah.
Here's our 50-page.
Yeah,
How about now?
And then he'll look at it and go, absolutely feasible. More than happy to do it. This is what I can do. And then usually he'll put it in a way that we should have just done from the start, which is why we love him. But I'm like, man,
he's an incredible guy.
Oh,
Honestly,
incredible!
incredible
It
dude,
sucks. It sucks working with him because you never
He's
feel
so
more
smart.
done.
You're never the smartest guy in the room when you're in the room with him. His brain is just works different.
Well, like we'll walk into a situation. Everyone, you've got a bunch of professional people all working on one situation, and we come up with something. We're like, we think this is good, and he'll just break it down to such a simplistic way of approaching things, and it just makes complete sense. And you're like, man, this is my full-time job. Like, I can't do this as well as you can. So
you can imagine the pressures though from owning a big security company as well. Like, obviously when there's an altercation that happens and things like that, you might get a lawyer letter. So like on Mondays and things, he'd go to the post office and lawyer letter. And he's got to be able to compartmentalize really effectively as well. And he looks at situations hyperlogically.
Yep.
With no emotion attached, which is I get quite jealous about because I'm
100%.
like, what if this,
What if?
He's just like, no, this is the facts. This is how it is type thing. And I need someone like that. So for me, like that's, Lewis is one of my mentors as well because
100%.
he helps me to stay more grounded and logical in my thinking and my processes as well. So it really benefits me.
We call him the dad of the office because
but he's Ryan's my youngest friend as well. Like Lewis is 36, I think.
Yep.
And so everyone else who I'm friends with is older than me.
Yeah.
I don't really associate too much with people around or younger than me. So
Let's chat lessons because I think that's great getting an insight. So what's your greatest lesson that you think you've learned?
Don't you say it.
I'm going to say it. Honestly, having a like holistic perspective on life in general.
I thought you might use the perspective word again.
It's so relevant in every facet of life, in my opinion. You can look at things more holistically, and you can then share your perspective on life and how things have impacted you to better other people as well. And like, that's where I get a lot of validation and satisfaction. And that's where I've found, because I struggled for a long time to figure out my own worth. I've always had an issue with where do I fit? I don't feel like I fit in anywhere type thing. So being able to have like a very broad perspective on life and how I've lived, I can then convey that to other people. And if I can benefit their life, it's very validating to me. So I feel like I get a lot out of it as well. And that's obviously why I'm doing the things I'm doing as well.
Do you know what your purpose is?
Helping other people that don't fit in like you felt.
Yeah, well, I think honestly,
helping you out.
Out of my head.
You just broke him.
I genuinely
just
think
giving you
it's
a perspective.
Perspective. I honestly, it's just sharing perspective in my life. I think that's where I get a lot of value. I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. If I don't think I'm helping people or providing a positive thing in their life, I don't feel like I'm much.
But I think there's a lot of kids, like not just kids, but even people in their 20s, 30s, whatever. Because you're, like you said, you felt for a long time you didn't fit in, you couldn't figure it out. But everyone's on a different timeline. Like some kids feel like that at the age of 12.
Yeah.
I just don't fit in, I really struggle. Some people find it out, they're still going through it when they're 40, right? Like I just don't fit in, I don't fit in with my work colleagues, whatever it might be. But I think for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that would be amazing for you and from a positive way, helping people like that, because you've got that perspective that you've been through it as well. So I think when people feel like that, and we've all probably felt like that at certain times of our life, it's nice to know that, as sad as it is, it's sometimes nice to know that someone's been in the same hole you've been in.
100%.
Like as sadistic as that sounds, like I don't want people to feel bad, but when you can relate to someone, and even when you're with your mate sometimes, you might be just sharing a beer or a coffee, for them to go, oh mate, I was feeling like that last month, and it's like, whoa, it's like a weight off your shoulders, right? To know that someone else has been through, walked the same, path.
I tell my best mates I love them and stuff like that, because you never know who, like, what it might be the last time you see them, as well. And I think that I think that in itself is masculinity. I think embracing your femininity as a male and being emotional and open to other men is actual masculinity. And I really believe in that. So whenever I talk to my mates and stuff like that, I might sign off and just say, love you, bro. Like, I'll talk to you soon.
He doesn't say it like that. I'll tell you exactly what he says. He starts the phone call like this, and it makes your day every time, because every time I call him, I know I'm like, here we go. He's like, hey, buddy. every time. I'm like 6 a.m., 9 a.m. Like,
I've got Matt doing it now, and I never thought I'd hear it. Yeah. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, hey, pal. What the hell?
That's very. I got some Canadian mates. And that's a big Canadian thing. Yeah, buddy.
Oh man, it makes my day every time.
I'm half American, so like my American side of my family is like, oh hey, and like you know, very outspoken and stuff like that. So it might be that influence. But
I know it makes my day. And then like and Jenny says this like every time. She's like, and she actually said this a few weeks ago. She's like, I love how you guys say I love you to your friends. I'm like, well, I do. I'm like, yeah, same thing. Love you, buddy.
Yeah. And I think that's perspective as well. Like we all have these backgrounds of, you know, perceived hard men stuff like that. I just don't see myself as that at all. Like I'm a doughy little teddy bear.
Well, I think love and kindness, man, that's the strongest. Like and genuinely, like we see it all the time. Like we've seen, you know, in our line of work, really like strong individuals. Like you look at this guy and you would just not have any idea what's going on in his head. Yeah. But when I see those people, you know, despite all of those things that can show love and empathy and kindness, man, and compassion, that is just out of this world. And like, no matter, and I suppose this comes down to self-maintenance as well, no matter what's going on in your life, if you can turn up for another person and regardless of how they treat you, how they are to you, know that you've treated them with kindness and love and empathy, then that is going to have, like, I know every day when me and Logan go to work, we may vent to each other, we may have really, you know, poor moments, we may joke about it, but when we get to work and when you're with another person and you can just go, look, like from human to human, I can love you as a person and show you compassion, kindness, and really know where you've been and be that person for you regardless of how you are. To me, that's strength.
so true, isn't it? And it brings a point, I think, and you can't judge a book by its cover. I think Logan's living proof of that, but it's also you don't know what someone else is going through at the time.
No. And I think that's again, and we deal with it a lot in our line of work with burnout. You can be kind and compassionate and loving for so long, and you know, you may not be treated the best. More often than not, you're not. Yeah. Or like you've got someone with mental health that can't even look after themselves, and they don't have the capacity to understand where you are coming from, and it can be really, really exhausting. It can be, honestly, sometimes we're banging our heads against a wall, going, we're doing all the right things, we're trying all and again and again and again and again. This person may not have the outcome that you want, but I feel like, it's
draining when you're dealing with it. I could just imagine for you guys that you are up with dealing with that on a daily basis. Yep. Mental health, just back on that for a touch, how have you seen that change or evolve? Has it gotten as bad as what we hear on the television?
I think social media's been a big problem with mental health in general. It's these unrealistic like beauty standards and stuff like that.
But even like the youth crime and stuff that we see, like with the YJ kids coming out, you've got these perpetuation of crimes that are being completed by like a same demographic, but these kids are not receiving appropriate supports. There's a huge gap in the system, and it's like, is this NDIS? Is this youth justice? Like, where do people come in? So there's these kids that are just going in and out
of the system all the time.
And
I think role models are a big thing in that space too. 100%. I think a lot of these kids and stuff, they're all growing up with like these gangster rappers and stuff as their idols, and they think that that popular culture, I think, is actually reflective in in society as well, and that's also being shown by the youth of today and things as well.
I think the mental health of our youth is it's insane. You talk to a kid that's 16 years old or 14 years old, and the way that they're talking to you it's just on a different level. Like I can't even describe, especially with these YJ kids that have just gone through such horrific things. And the way that they talk, like, you know, the way that they talk about their friends, you know, that this is their circle, and they're like, yeah, I wouldn't leave my wallet on the table because I don't trust anyone. And I'm just sitting there like, well, what do you mean? And like, they're just so gobsmacked by day-to-day things, the way I talk to my friends, or like the way I talk about things, because they just genuinely have never been able to experience that. And that's the problem is, you know, by the time you're getting these kids that are actualizing and you're starting to provide supports, one, you're limited in the supports that you can provide. There's multiple different systems, and where do they go?
It's funny though, you touched on it before. I mean, look, this is probably a whole nother podcast and more chats off air. But look, it's certainly like going back to what you said, Mags. I actually think, this is just my opinion. People may not share it, but I think it's actually a lot worse than what's out in the media, just in my circles and stuff. But I think it's being hidden for certain reasons, you know. And I'm not going to mention schools or anything, but you know, there's certain school I mentioned to you that have had, you know, a number of young men take their own lives this year. And I look back and I go, why are 15-year-olds doing that? When I look at when I was at school, when I was 15, it was like the greatest time of my life, right? But it was funny, I heard someone say the other day that, you know, the challenge in this generation, and it comes back to what you were saying about mentorship, and you said yourself, you battled with growing up without a father figure, and you were literally looking for who that mentor was. But I think unfortunately for some of these kids, be it female or male, it doesn't matter, that, you know, I think I look back to when I was a kid, and I heard another guy talking about this the other day, that you think back, our greatest mentors when I was growing up was my grandfather and my father. That was it. I had no other influences. I didn't have social media. I didn't have all these, you know, Kardashians and all these other things jumping into my feed every day. It was literally my dad and my granddad taught you how to be a man, taught you the love of the outdoors or nature or whatever it might be, right? That's who you, same with you, with your dad. Like your dad taught you everything, building and everything. I think for a lot of these kids now, their mentors are not their father or their grandfather or especially you being an Italian family, like the matriarchs of the family were your grandmothers. You know, they sort of taught everything.
My mum.
Yeah, your mum, exactly. Whereas you think, you think about like the Italian families back then, where exactly that your greatest mentors were your mum or something. Whereas now it's like these kids are following people on Instagram and they've got 2,000 mentors that aren't even in the country.
Well, it's the accessibility of information now too, and unfortunately, a lot of kids' minds are sponges, right?
Yeah.
So they're getting in front of, you know, phones and stuff and just absorbing information. That information may not be good, but that's also reflecting on them and that is literally shaping who they are as well from a young age.
We've seen kids as young as like 6 displaying sexualized behaviors. Like younger,
because it's getting younger as well. So
like things you wouldn't believe. Like when we sit there and I'm like, and you know, we're having a discussion with the therapist, going, do they understand like what they're doing? Is there an understanding there? Like we sit there and it's like, it's really, really quite concerning what kids are. Even when we were growing up, man, Facebook was just kind of hitting its stride just as I finished high school. Now I've got my younger brother and he's very, what's the point of going to school? I don't want to go to school. Like, why would I go to school? I can just go on YouTube and learn something. I can learn
statistics of intimacy now. The age group is lower and lower.
Younger and younger.
Yeah. So, you know, these hypersexualized behaviors and stuff like that, I think is a direct correlation of the information that they're absorbing.
The internet and the social media.
Well, but kids are just, and we care for a range of young adults and young children as well. Like we care for a whole range, and we see a lot of these young kids and, you know, parents are just handing them iPads.
Yeah.
Not even watching.
Are you finding though, like I know you're saying a lot about kids and teenagers, but back to what you were saying with when I asked you before about if someone is going through something, regardless of their age, that a big part of that is getting into nature, getting into the physical movement and stuff. But is there another side of that also, that to get them off social media, maybe take a break from the technology stuff, you know, regardless of your age?
I think everyone should be.
Because I even see some of my mates where they're just in industries where it's just constantly attached to social media, phones and all this.
If you saw my house, you'd understand where I'm kind of at with that. Like I live in Flaxton up in the mountains, and I've got like a full veggie patch going. I've got like rosemary and everything, and I tend to like my pineapples and strawberries and bananas and everything.
He's a full hermit, man.
I care for my bonsai. I care for my bonsais and stuff as well. Like I love bonsai.
But that's a great point, though, right? I think there's a direct correlation between don't just get out and go for a run or get in nature in the outdoors if you're spending the next 4 hours just engrossed on Instagram all day, right? Or you know, you've got to give yourself a break from that as well, haven't you?
What good memory do you have on your phone? Maybe showing someone something funny.
True, it's like memes.
Genuinely, what good memory do you have on your phone? Me and Logan, I still remember to this day when we went for that hike up in the night.
When it was raining. It was pouring down rain, and we decided to go for it.
We don't know why.
I love rain. Like, it's healing to me. So that was amazing.
That was one of the best experiences of my life to this day. I just remember, you know, it was pouring down rain, and I think we just texted each other going, "I'm going to go for a hike in the rain."
How good.
It was awesome. And we're just sitting at the bottom of the waterfall. It was just majestic, like the power coming from that. You don't get that from social media and stuff on your phone.
And it's such a simple thing. Like, it was literally just, let's go. And like, to this day, I just remember the peace that we both felt at the bottom. We did our Wim Hof down the bottom. We just chatted, and we were just really, really present. And like, it's moments like that, and, you know, moments watching sunsets, or like moments where you just are present. Those are the things you remember.
It's so funny. I mean, you and I talk about that all the time, isn't it? Like when there's days when you and I just go, "Hey, Connie, look at the weather outside," and when you turn your phone off and jump on the jet skis and like go over to Morton Island for a day or over to Peel, you don't have any phones out. You're not taking any photos of it, but it's just, you know, it just fills your cup, doesn't it?
Well, even moments like this where you turn your phone on airplane mode. And I was putting it onto airplane mode, and I actually couldn't remember. Like, me and Logan are constantly on call. You're never not on call. From the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, you are ready to respond to someone's needs. And just having, you know, hour, 2 hours where you're like, hang on, I'm just going to engage with some other people for a few hours, have a nice conversation, and just talk about things. Crazy how much that can just, you know, impact your day and elevate your day. We always come back from podcasts.
I love the fact my phone's on airplane mode right now, to be honest.
I'm living for it.
I'm sitting here, I'm just like, I'm not a slave to it right now.
No,
it
100%.
feels good. It feels actually quite freeing, to be honest. So,
But like, we always come back from, like, you know, podcasts or in meetings with other people where you're just engaged with another person, and the social aspect that you feel. We always come back on, I feel elevated. There's sometimes, obviously, there's like different situations where you can be like quite serious and you can come back feeling quite exhausted. But like when you just are honestly there to enjoy another person, like and hear their perspective. There you go.
That is epic. Before we get into the quick fire questions, let's just go around the table. Give us a bit of a summary or the best advice that you could give to our viewers.
Oh man, that sucks.
Put an emphasis on gratitude in your life in the hope that you can then share your perspective of gratitude to those around you.
Yeah, well said.
That's epic, brother.
I think for me is don't smash yourself too hard for making mistakes. Like, make mistakes and make them 1,000 times. Like, it doesn't matter if you make the same mistake 1,000 times, as long as the 1,001st you learn from it. Sometimes we're slow learners. I know for me, I'll make the same mistake 1,000,000 times, and that's okay.
Just get back up.
Yeah, just keep going. You'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
What about you, Connie?
Mate, you know what? I was just thinking about this before. You touched on it about being kind, but my advice is, or my thing I've sort of learnt recently, and probably comes from my partner Sammy a lot, is don't just be kind to others, but be kind to yourself.
Yeah, it's a big one. Self-talk's a big thing.
Because I think we're really good at preaching about being kind to others, but it's like, but on the inside, we're giving ourselves a caning.
Like 100%. Every day.
Like, hold on, would I say that to a mate or someone who's going, but I'm sitting here, my voices are going, you know, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
I relate to that a lot.
And my missus is always saying that to me. Sammy is just like, Connie, geez, mate, like,
I realize it's easy to do. It's easy to do. It's like giving advice. Yeah, man. Like, if you want to have a beer, have a beer. Goes home. I'm not having a beer.
I heard this really cool thing the other day. Simon Sinek said it. He said, we're really, really good at listening to ourselves. We're not great at talking to ourselves. And it's so true for someone like me. All these voices going, you're an idiot, you know, all this stuff. You can't do it. You 100%. Can't.
There's a diagnosis for that.
Yeah, I know. Mate, don't worry. I've got that. Don't worry, mate. Yeah. How about you, mate?
Mate, mine is just move. Just move. It's very, very simple, and idealistically outside. I love getting out to nature, whether it's up in the mountains of Maloney or 100%. Whether it's, the beach is another big one for me. I find a lot of tranquility in nature, and just to pause and reflect is
very easy to do. And I just moved up into like Golden Beach, and very, very beautiful spot.
It's a cracker.
Oh man, I went for a walk along along the beach the other day, and you can walk right out to the island at low tide, and it was like sunset, and I just took a minute, and I was like,
yep,
what a place to live.
How exactly
that was it
right there.
Yeah.
I think I need to hit the beach more. I'm looking around and I'm very pale compared to everyone else. Someone said I had a jellyfish complexion the other day.
Pretty sure that was
You're surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was one of
It's
our
a grounding
workers.
experience. I need to get a little bit more vitamin D in my life.
I was going to say,
let's
I'm
go.
pretty sure that was one of our workers. They no longer work for us.
That's a joke, by the way.
All right, boys, you ready? We're going to alternate on these. I'll ask you one and then ask you the other. You ready?
You're up first, Legs.
Oh, there we
You're
go.
up first.
Yep.
Strength or cardio workouts?
Strength.
Favorite cheat meal?
Burgers.
What's the last podcast you listened to?
Andrew Huberman.
An overseas city you could live in?
Japan.
Sauna or ice bath?
Ice bath.
One thing you do to reset your mind?
Runs. I go for runs.
The best advice you've ever received?
We can't say it on air.
Oh, that's a hard one, actually. Perspective is everything. I
I'm
gave it to
shocked.
myself.
Favorite sport you like to watch?
Oh, boxing for sure.
Protein shake or smoothie?
Shake.
One app you can't live without?
Notes.
Guilty pleasure?
Gaming.
Dream car?
G-Wagon, Mercedes.
One thing you wish you knew sooner?
Perspective. No, sorry.
Probably
Sorry,
to be kinder to myself, to be honest. Yeah.
Early riser or night owl?
Night owl for sure.
Go-to recovery routine?
Sleep.
Group training or solo workout?
Oh, solo for sure.
Favorite motivational song?
Oh.
Never gonna give you up.
I actually don't know.
Simply the best. Tina Turner.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know that one.
One food you could eat every day?
Oh,
If I didn't put on weight, definitely like Wagyu burgers. 100%.
It's not your go champ.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Steaks. Yeah, steak. Any
that's
meat.
all.
Yeah.
And if you weren't working, what would you be doing?
I've always wanted a family and just have a nice life. So probably looking after my family. That'd be my go-to.
Ripper answer.
Yeah. Best thing about being in your 20s?
Man, I can still drink and get away with it. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
All right,
Yeah.
last question. Finish this sentence. I believe.
In you.
Huh.
Mate, what
That's
a
my
way to
best one,
finish.
Yeah.
Legends, mate. Thank you so much for your time, guys, and all those valuable insights. And thank you to my favourite co-host, Connie.
Awesome, lads. That was epic.
Thank you very
thanks,
much,
guys.
guys. Love
Appreciate
being
it.
here. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks for tuning in to the M26 Fit podcast. Remember, real growth happens one step at a time, and consistently working both your mind and body for 26 minutes every day will change your life. Hit subscribe to keep the inspiration going, and don't forget to share this episode with someone who needs that extra boost. Until next time, stay connected and stay active.